I clicked a stranger's Facebook profile and saw my husband smiling beside two children. "He told me you were divorced," she said. Then she showed me their son. So I copied every bank record and said, "When he comes home, both families disappear." A week earlier, I had been sitting at the kitchen counter while my 6-year-old daughter, Molly, colored at the table behind me. She was drawing a horse with blue wings and insisting it wasn't a unicorn because she had forgotten the horn. I had a mug of cold coffee beside me and was scrolling through Facebook without paying much attention. My husband, Travis, was away for work. His job required regular travel, usually 2 or 3 nights at a time. Some trips were conferences. Others were client visits. I didn't enjoy how often he was gone, but it had been part of our marriage for years. He always called Molly before bed. When he was home, he cooked, handled school drop-offs, and remembered every birthday. He wasn't distant or obviously secretive. That was why I never questioned him. Facebook showed me a list of suggested contacts. The first profile belonged to a woman named Jenna. We had several mutual connections, mostly vendors and business acquaintances I had met at events with Travis. I assumed Jenna was someone I had forgotten. Then I saw her profile picture. She was standing outside a pumpkin patch with a teenage boy and a toddler. A man stood behind her with one arm around her waist while the toddler sat on his shoulders. The man was Travis. I stared until my phone screen dimmed. At first, I convinced myself it was someone who looked like him. Travis had brown hair, a short beard, and the kind of ordinary face that could change depending on the angle. Then I zoomed in. The man had a thin scar through his left eyebrow. Travis had gotten it after falling off a bicycle when he was 11. He was also wearing the silver watch I had given him for our anniversary. The caption said, "Another perfect fall weekend with my boys. Next year, I finally get to marry my best friend." I heard Molly humming behind me. That small, normal sound made the photograph feel even more unreal. I clicked Jenna's profile. Most of it was public. There were years of pictures. Travis helping the teenage boy assemble a bookshelf. Travis hanging Christmas lights. Travis grilling in Jenna's backyard. Travis asleep on a couch with the toddler curled against his chest. In one photograph, Jenna held up an engagement ring while Travis kissed her cheek. It had been posted 6 months earlier. That same weekend, Travis had told me his company car needed emergency repairs. He withdrew money from our joint account and showed me a receipt when he got home. I had been annoyed that he hadn't warned me. Then I forgot about it. I kept scrolling and found more dates I recognized. A weekend when he was supposedly attending a conference. A night when a client dinner had run late. A holiday weekend when he said his mother needed help around her house. In Jenna's photographs, he wore clothes I had never seen. He sometimes wore glasses. He looked relaxed, almost younger. He looked like my husband playing someone else. Then I found a Father's Day post. The toddler was sitting on Travis's lap, holding a handmade card. The caption said, "Theo is lucky to have the most patient dad in the world. Dad." I barely reached the kitchen sink before I got sick. Molly stopped coloring and asked if I was okay. I rinsed my mouth, told her the coffee had upset my stomach, and put on a cartoon. Then I locked myself in the bathroom. I wanted to call Travis immediately. I wanted to send him the picture and demand an explanation. But he was away, and I was terrified the profile would disappear before I understood what I had found. So I took screenshots. I saved the engagement announcement, the Father's Day post, and every photograph connected to one of his supposed work trips. I recorded my screen while scrolling through Jenna's profile in case she made it private. Then I searched for other accounts belonging to Travis. His regular profile showed our vacations, occasional pictures of Molly, and harmless posts about work. After trying different versions of his name, I found another account using his middle name and a shortened surname. The profile was mostly locked, but the photograph showed him wearing the same glasses from Jenna's pictures. His relationship status said engaged. He claimed to live several hours away and described himself as an independent consultant. It wasn't a second legal identity, just enough altered information to keep Jenna's friends from easily finding his real professional profile. I sat on the bathroom floor staring at the word engaged. Travis and I had been married for 8 years. Molly was 6. Jenna's earliest public photograph with him had been posted almost 6 years earlier. He had met her when our daughter was still a baby. My first thought was that Jenna had known about me. I imagined her helping him invent excuses and laughing at how easily I believed them. Then I read one of her older captions. She wrote about how proud she was that Travis continued fighting for time with his daughter after a difficult divorce. He had used Molly as proof that his lie was real. I created a new Facebook account because I didn't want Jenna to block my regular profile before I could speak to her. My hands shook while I typed. I'm sorry to contact you like this, but I need to ask you about Travis. I believe we may know him in very different ways. She replied within minutes. Who are you? I sent her a photograph from my wedding. She called through Messenger almost immediately. Her voice was sharp. Where did you get that picture? I'm the woman in it. There was a pause. Then she said, he told me you were divorced. We're not divorced, I said. He left our house yesterday for a work trip. She said that wasn't possible. According to Travis, our marriage had ended years earlier. We supposedly stayed civil because of Molly, and he sometimes slept at my house when she struggled with the separation. That explanation had given him permission to return home without making Jenna suspicious. It also gave him an excuse to disappear from her life whenever he needed to be with us. I sent Jenna a photograph taken 2 weeks earlier at Molly's school. Travis had his arm around my shoulder and was wearing his wedding ring. Jenna accused me of trying to ruin her engagement. She asked whether I had been stalking her. She said Travis had warned her that I struggled to accept the divorce and sometimes became obsessive. He had prepared her for me. Before our lives ever collided, he had turned me into the unstable former wife. I opened my camera roll and found a picture from the previous morning. Travis was asleep in our bed with one of Molly's stuffed animals resting on his chest. I sent it. Jenna went quiet. Was that taken yesterday? Yes. A few seconds later, her camera switched on. She was sitting in a bedroom, wiping tears from her face. She walked into a hallway and quietly opened another door. A toddler was asleep beneath glow-in-the-dark stars. This is Theo, she whispered. She moved the camera toward a framed photograph on the dresser. Travis was standing in a hospital room, holding a newborn. Jenna was beside him in a hospital gown. He looked exactly as he had when Molly was born, tired, frightened, and proud. He isn't helping me raise someone else's child, Jenna said. Theo is his biological son. I asked if she was certain, even though the photograph had already answered me. He was there when Theo was born, she said. He signed the birth certificate. Jenna and I stayed on the phone for hours. It wasn't calm. We interrupted each other. We cried. At one point she hung up because she thought I was accusing her of knowingly having an affair with a married man. She called back 10 minutes later because neither of us could stop searching for answers. She had met Travis near one of the cities he regularly visited for work. He told her he was separated and waiting for the divorce to be finalized. According to him, I delayed everything because we disagreed over the house and custody. He said Molly became anxious when he stayed elsewhere, so he occasionally slept at my home during his visits. Jenna thought she was being patient with a devoted father. I thought I was being understanding with a hardworking husband. Every lie supported another lie. When Travis told me he was traveling for work, he often told Jenna he was spending time with Molly. When he told Jenna he was dealing with his difficult former wife, he told me a meeting had been extended. Some of his work trips were real. That was what made the deception believable. He mixed genuine conferences and client visits with nights at Jenna's house, so his receipts and mileage usually made sense. He kept clothes and toiletries there. He had his second phone on an individual plan. Jenna believed it contained confidential work information, which explained why he kept it close and never allowed her to use it. I thought about every late call he had taken in the garage and every time he claimed his battery had died. We compared holidays, birthdays, and school events. There were days when Travis ate breakfast with Molly, drove several hours, and appeared in one of Jenna's family photographs before dinner. He spent Christmas morning with us, then told Jenna I had refused to let him see Molly at any other time. He arrived at Jenna's house that evening looking like a tired divorced father who had survived another difficult holiday. She had comforted him. I had apologized for complaining that he was leaving early. The engagement ring had been purchased with our money. Travis hadn't taken one obvious amount. He made smaller withdrawals over several months and described them as travel costs, vehicle expenses, and work purchases. The weekend he proposed, he told me he was helping his parents replace a broken water heater. I spent that weekend painting Molly's bedroom alone. Jenna wanted us to confront him together as soon as he came home. I refused. How can you wait? She asked. Because I have a child in this house, and I don't know what money he has moved or what else he's hiding. I have a child to protect too. I know. But confronting him without preparation won't protect either of them. She didn't like my answer. Jenna needed the lies to end immediately because she wanted to know whether her future still existed. I already knew mine didn't. What I needed was time to make sure Travis couldn't take the practical parts of my life with him. The next morning, I contacted a family law attorney named Monica. I explained that my husband had another fiancé and a child I had never known about. Monica asked whether I felt physically unsafe. I said no. Travis had never threatened me. My concern was that he might move money, erase records, or pressure me into doubting what I had seen. She told me not to confront him yet. Under the laws where we lived, she advised me to gather copies of our bank statements, tax returns, mortgage records, retirement accounts, insurance policies, and credit card activity. She warned me not to empty or close anything. After reviewing how our accounts were owned, she advised me to move half of the available joint checking and savings into an individual account, document the transfer, and leave the rest untouched. I followed her instructions exactly. I printed records away from home and stored copies in 2 secure places. While reviewing the statements, I found charges I had ignored before. Restaurants near Jenna's home. Children's clothing. A monthly phone bill that didn't belong to either number I knew. Repairs at Jenna's townhouse. Nothing was individually dramatic. Together, they formed a record of his second life. Jenna kept messaging me. At first, she sent useful evidence, photographs of his clothes, a copy of the engagement ring receipt, and a picture of his second phone. Then her messages changed. Have you told him? Are you definitely leaving? Does he know we spoke? Finally, she asked whether I might forgive him. I told her I had contacted a lawyer, but I wasn't going to promise a stranger what my life would look like months from now. I need to know you're not taking him back, she replied. That made me angry. You don't need my permission to leave him, I wrote. And I don't owe you proof that I will. She apologized later. She said she felt as though she was waiting to discover which one of us Travis would choose. I told her he had already chosen, thousands of times. He chose to lie every time he walked through either door. Jenna wanted to expose him publicly. She talked about contacting his employer, his parents, and everyone connected to both profiles. I refused. His employer hadn't created the situation, and damaging his income could hurt both children. I wanted legal protection, not a public spectacle that might complicate everything. She called me cold. I told her I was trying to think beyond the next day. By Friday, I had completed everything Monica advised. Travis texted that afternoon. Home around 7. Miss my girls. I'll bring dinner. I read the message several times before replying, okay. Molly spent the night with my parents. I told them Travis and I needed to discuss something serious and promised I would call if I needed help. I cleaned the kitchen even though it was already clean. Then I placed one photograph in the center of the table. It showed Travis behind Jenna while Theo sat on his shoulders and her older son stood beside them. Everyone looked happy. At 7:18, the garage door opened. Travis entered carrying takeout bags. He smiled when he saw me. Where's Molly? Then he noticed the photograph. His smile disappeared. He placed the bags on the counter and stared at the table. For almost a minute, neither of us spoke. Finally, he said, I can explain. I laughed. Not because anything was funny. It was the sound my body made because it didn't know what else to do. Travis pulled out a chair. Bethany, please sit down. I've been sitting down for 6 years, I said. You've been driving between 2 homes. His face changed. That was when he knew Jenna and I had spoken. He asked how much I knew. Enough to know Theo is your son. Travis closed his eyes. For one stupid second, I waited for him to deny it. He didn't. Instead, he sat down and pressed both hands against his face. I never planned for this to happen. I asked which part had been accidental. Meeting Jenna? Telling her we were separated? Having a child with her? Proposing? Using our money to buy the ring? He said Jenna had started as someone he talked to during a difficult period in our marriage. I asked what period he meant. He said we had become distant after Molly was born and he felt invisible. While I had been recovering from childbirth and waking every 2 hours, he had decided that feeling ignored justified beginning another relationship. Travis insisted he had tried to end things. Then Jenna became dependent on him. Her older son became attached. She became pregnant, and he panicked. So you lied for another 3 years? I thought I could keep everyone happy. You had one family, I said. Then you secretly built another. He immediately said Theo was innocent. I know. The children are the only innocent people here. Then Travis said, I love both of you differently. The calmness in his voice stunned me. He spoke as though the problem was that he had too much love and 2 unreasonable women had failed to appreciate it. You don't love us differently, I said. You lie to us differently. He looked away. I asked whether Jenna knew he was married when they met. He admitted she didn't. He had told her we were separated before their first date. I asked whether he had ever intended to divorce me. He hesitated. That pause answered me. He never planned to choose. He wanted our home, the stability we had built, and the version of himself who packed Molly's lunches and attended school events. He also wanted Jenna's home, where he could arrive as a wounded father rebuilding his life after a painful marriage. With me, he was dependable. With her, he was misunderstood. Neither woman knew enough to challenge the full story. I told him I had spoken to an attorney. Until that moment, he had looked ashamed. The word attorney made him afraid. I told him I had moved half of the available joint funds into an account in my name under legal advice. He stood so quickly that the chair scraped against the floor. You moved our money? Half of it. You had no right to do that without discussing it with me. I looked at the photograph. You bought another woman an engagement ring with our money. He said that was different because he had planned to replace it. I asked when. Before or after the wedding. The conversation changed after that. He accused me of invading his privacy and said contacting Jenna had been cruel. He claimed I had destroyed Theo's home before he could explain things properly. I didn't destroy his home, I said. I found it on Facebook. Jenna had already told him not to return to her house. He looked at me as though I had arranged it. You didn't have to blow everything up in one night. I felt something inside me settle. You built this over 6 years, I said. I just turned on the light. The confrontation didn't end with screaming. It ended with Travis asking where he was supposed to sleep. That morning, he had access to 2 homes. By night, neither woman wanted him inside. I told him to pack enough clothes for several days and stay elsewhere. He asked when he could see Molly. I said we would arrange that after I spoke to Monica. He accused me of keeping his daughter from him. I reminded him that she was safe with my parents and that he had spent years using her as a cover story. That finally stopped him. Before leaving, he stood in the doorway and said, I know you hate me, but I'm still her father. Then start behaving like one. The divorce was not fast or dramatic. There were legal appointments, financial disclosures, and exhausting conversations about parenting schedules. Travis rented a furnished apartment. Jenna ended the engagement but still had to communicate with him because of Theo. For a while, she and I continued exchanging information. Then she asked for copies of my private bank statements and tax records to help with her child support case. Monica advised me not to send them directly. I told Jenna her attorney could request anything legally relevant. She became angry and said I had used her evidence to protect myself but refused to help her. Maybe part of that was fair. She had given me information that allowed me to prepare. But I was exhausted from being expected to manage the consequences of Travis's lies for everyone involved. I agreed to cooperate through our lawyers. She blocked me. I don't hate Jenna. I don't trust her either. We were never friends. We were 2 women forced into the same crisis. We helped each other until protecting our own children pulled us in different directions. Travis's parents learned the truth after he asked to stay with them. His mother, Sharon, called me crying. She said she had met Jenna once years earlier when Travis introduced her as someone connected to work. She had never known about Theo. I believed her. Then she asked whether I could reconsider the divorce for Molly's sake. I told her Molly's sake was exactly why I was leaving. When she asked again a week later, I made the boundary clear. Travis's parents could continue seeing Molly, but they could not make reconciliation the price of their involvement. They stopped asking. Molly knew only that her father had lied about something important and would not be living with us. At first, she blamed herself. She asked whether he had left because she complained when he missed her school play. Then she asked if he had another little girl somewhere. That question hurt more than anything Travis had said. I told her there was a little boy named Theo who shared her father, but none of it was her fault. Her school counselor recommended that visits begin slowly and follow a reliable routine. There was no dramatic order preventing Travis from seeing her. At first, Molly asked that her grandparents stay during visits because she didn't want to be alone with him. Over time, she became more comfortable spending a few hours with him. She still checks the clock when he says he is coming. He has been late twice. Both times, she became quiet and distant. Travis has complained that I am turning her against him. I am not. For the first time, Molly is reacting to what he actually does instead of the explanations I once made for him. The financial review showed that Travis had spent thousands maintaining his second life, but there was no hidden fortune. It was smaller and sadder than that. Meals, gas, gifts, a second phone, repairs at Jenna's home. Money taken in amounts small enough that I blamed myself for not budgeting better. Jenna returned the engagement ring. It was sold and documented during the divorce. Travis now supports 2 children in separate homes while paying rent on an apartment he says he hates. I don't celebrate that. Molly and Theo both deserve support. But there is a kind of justice in watching him live within one honest schedule. No fake conferences. No second wardrobe. No racing between homes while 2 women explain why he is late. I was allowed to remain in the house while the divorce continued. A month after Travis left, I packed the clothes he had not collected and placed the boxes in the garage. Then I took down our wedding photograph. The wall behind it was darker because the surrounding paint had faded. For several weeks, the empty rectangle bothered me. Then Molly taped one of her drawings over it. It was the blue-winged horse from the morning I found Jenna's profile. This time, it had a horn. Last week, Travis sent me a long message. He said he understood that he had destroyed my trust. He hoped we could eventually become friends and show Molly that families could survive mistakes. I read it twice. Then I deleted it. What he did was not one mistake. It was a life maintained through years of deliberate choices. My house is quieter now. Sometimes the silence still feels unfamiliar. Most nights, it feels peaceful. I no longer wait for the garage door or wonder whether a meeting is taking too long. I no longer defend his absence before Molly asks. The children still have homes. Jenna and I are rebuilding separate lives. What disappeared were the 2 places where Travis could keep performing different versions of himself. I know some people will think I should have confronted him immediately instead of contacting Jenna and protecting my share of our money first. Others may think I owed Jenna more help after she gave me evidence. But after years of having every important decision made behind my back, I needed to make one before Travis could make it for me. Was I wrong for contacting the other woman and protecting my share of our money before giving my husband the chance to explain?